The afternoon sun cast long shadows over the quiet streets as a little girl, no older than 9, sprinted down the road, her small feet pounding against the pavement. Tears streaked her face, and her breath came in panicked gasps. Behind her, the rumble of motorcycles grew louder, a chilling reminder that danger was close. Moments later, she burst into a local police station, her tiny frame trembling as she clung to the counter. The officers on duty froze, their casual chatter replaced by concern as they took in the girl's terrified expression. "What's wrong, sweetheart?" one asked gently, kneeling to her level. She opened her mouth, her voice barely above a whisper. But when she spoke 3 haunting words, the room fell silent. The officers exchanged grave looks, their faces pale as they realized the gravity of the situation. Something wasn't right, and time was running out. The officers exchanged uneasy glances as the little girl's words echoed in the room. They tried to steady their voices, asking her gently, "What happened? Who's after you?" But she only shook her head, her wide eyes darting nervously toward the station's glass doors. One officer crouched closer, offering her a bottle of water and a reassuring smile. "You're safe here," he said softly. "No one can hurt you now. Just tell us what's going on." The girl hesitated, gripping the bottle tightly, her small hands trembling. Finally, in a shaky voice, she whispered, "They said they're coming." The officers immediately sprang into action. One locked the doors while others checked the perimeter. Outside, the distant growl of motorcycles was faint but unmistakable. Questions swirled in their minds. Who were these bikers? And why would they chase a child? None of it made sense, but something about her fear felt far too real. The station buzzed with quiet urgency as the officers tried to piece together the situation. One of them, Officer Daniels, stayed by the girl's side, gently coaxing her to share more. "Can you tell me your name?" he asked. She hesitated before whispering, "Maya." Her voice was fragile, like it could break under the weight of her fear. Meanwhile, another officer, Ramirez, scanned the parking lot from the window. The low rumble of motorcycles was getting louder. "There's at least 3 of them," he muttered. "They're close." The others exchanged worried glances, their unease growing. Inside, Maya's story began to trickle out. Between shallow breaths, she revealed that the bikers had been following her for miles. "They want something," she murmured, clutching her knees to her chest. "I saw them do something bad." Before she could explain further, the sound of engines roaring outside silenced the room. The bikers had arrived. The engines outside roared louder, their vibrations creeping through the walls of the station. Maya's breathing quickened, and her small frame shrank further into the corner. Officer Daniels placed a steadying hand on her shoulder, his voice calm despite the storm brewing outside. "Stay here. We won't let anything happen to you." Outside, the bikers had parked in a line, their helmets masking their faces. One of them stepped forward, his heavy boots echoing on the pavement as he approached the station doors. Inside, Officer Ramirez peered through the blinds, his jaw tightening. "They're not here for a casual chat," he said under his breath. Daniels nodded to another officer, who discreetly activated the station's backup alarm. The officers took their positions, ready for whatever was coming. Maya suddenly clutched Daniel's arm, her voice trembling. "You don't understand. They're not going to stop. They'll do anything to get me back." Before anyone could respond, the man outside pounded on the glass, his muffled voice cutting through the tense silence. "We just want the girl. Hand her over and no one gets hurt." The officers froze at the demand, the tension in the room thick enough to cut with a knife. Officer Daniels glanced at Maya, whose face had gone pale. Her wide eyes locked onto his, and she whispered desperately, "You can't let them take me." "They They're not who they seem. Daniels nodded firmly, signaling the other officers to hold their ground. We don't negotiate with threats, he muttered. Ramirez moved closer to the door, his hand resting on his holstered weapon as the biker outside pounded on the glass again. You have no idea what you're dealing with, the man shouted, his voice dripping with menace. But then Maya blurted something that stopped everyone in their tracks. It's not just them, she said, trembling. There's someone else, someone worse. They're watching, even now. Before Daniels could ask what she meant, a loud crash came from the back of the station, followed by the unmistakable sound of breaking glass. The officers spun around, their nerves stretched to the limit. Whoever these people were, they weren't waiting for an invitation. And Maya's whispered words echoed ominously in the chaos. They'll do whatever it takes. The officers scrambled toward the back of the station, their hands on their weapons, as more glass shattered. Shadows moved quickly in the dim light, and the sound of heavy boots echoed through the narrow halls. They're inside, Ramirez yelled, rallying the team to secure Maya. Officer Daniels pulled Maya close, shielding her as the intruders grew bolder. But just as the tension reached its peak, Maya tugged at his sleeve with surprising calm. You need to trust me, she said softly. There's something you don't know. Daniels hesitated, confused, but before he could respond, the station lights flickered and went out, plunging the room into darkness. A chilling silence followed, broken only by the low hum of approaching footsteps. Suddenly, Maya stepped forward, her small voice cutting through the chaos. It's over, she said, her tone steady. To everyone's shock, the bikers froze in their tracks. One by one, they removed their helmets, their hardened expressions replaced with uncertainty. The leader stepped forward, visibly shaken. We didn't know it was her, he muttered, almost in awe. Maya turned to the officers, her gaze unwavering. They weren't chasing me to hurt me, she explained. They were running from someone I've been hiding from too. Before anyone could ask more, a distant, eerie sound filled the air. The bikers exchanged fearful glances and bolted without another word. Maya looked up at Daniels, her eyes filled with a mix of relief and sorrow. You saved me from them, she said, but now they know where I am. And just like that, the danger shifted to something far more ominous, leaving the officers to wonder what they'd truly uncovered. The room was eerily silent after the bikers vanished into the night, their roaring engines fading into the distance. The officers stood frozen, trying to process what had just happened. Daniels crouched beside Maya, his voice gentle. Maya, who's after you? Who are they? She hesitated, then whispered, the people who took my family. I ran from them, but they'll never stop looking. Her eyes brimmed with tears, and Daniel's heart ached at the weight she carried. The officers exchanged solemn glances, realizing they'd stumbled into something far bigger than they could have imagined. Daniels made a silent promise to protect her, no matter what. We'll keep you safe, he said firmly. As they escorted Maya to a secure location, she finally allowed herself to breathe. The station doors locked behind them, but an unsettling feeling lingered in the air. The fight wasn't over, but for tonight, Maya was safe.